Hello everybody, I'm Das Food coming to you live from, well, a hurricane, more or less, that is hitting the lovely state of Mississippi, but don't worry, I'm alright. At least I hope so. Maybe not, we'll see. But anyway, we got a new developer update from the devs of Dead by Daylight, and this is an exciting one for a lot of reasons. However, guys, everything else that happened in this update, this September 2024 update, is going to, at least from my perspective, be dwarfed in relation to one particular change. So you see, they start off talking about the Moris. They want to talk about the perks they changed. They want to talk about all that. That's great. That's great. That's fantastic. However, they made some killer changes, and some of them I'm going to hold my thoughts on. So for example, with the unknown, they changed a lot in regard to the hallucinations and some of what you hear. So I think the term they used was the VFX and the SFX are changing while using UVX. That is a mouthful. But I want to see how it actually goes. So the main thing I think to take away here, and maybe unknown mains could tell me I'm wrong and stupid and I smell bad or something, I don't know, but adjustments to blurry photo and vanishing box add-ons. So I know that by reading this, they made the blurry photo base kit, or at least somewhat base kit, and they nerfed its ability, as they've done with many. They did that with the Clown 2, for example, when they nerfed the thick cork stopper, the one that made him reload faster, because they made him just reload faster at base value. So of course they adjust the add-on. So that's fine. That's fine. I don't really have a lot of thought. Oh, I clicked on the unknown. Minor update, unknown. Okay. Okay, can I, there we go. So the twins getting a minor update, that's fine. It's increasing the time before you can have Victor back out after he's crushed. Whatever, that's fine. Increase cooldown after Victor downs a survivor. Yeah, okay, cool. Minor nerfs to Victor. I guess he's just a little too good. Now, I will say before we get into the Skull Merchant stuff, the Billy stuff is exciting to me because Billy was taken from being a very low pick rate killer to one of the most popular and one of the most lethal. In fact, I would argue almost as a kind of no duh statement, right? He became one of the most popular because he was one of the most lethal. He was so deadly. I like what they're doing here. So they're making it to where overdrive will start to dissipate after 8 seconds. It used to take you 15 seconds for that. So you have to earn it a little more there. Decreased overdrive movement speed from 13 meters a second to 11.5. Not a huge issue there. He's still going to be super lethal with that. Decreased charges gained while revving and sprinting. Again, that's a half a second difference. And yeah, I'm sure the pro Billy players are going to feel it, but for most of us, no. It's just basically they've done a couple of small tweaks that are going to take Billy from top of A tier, bottom of S tier to top of A tier. Right? He's still really good. I probably underrated him in my tier list video, but the reason I wanted to make this, because I don't really do the whole, oh, they do a dev update, let's make a video on it. I don't do that every time now. It's only if something really appeals to me. And there are two really massive changes that I think come out of this one. One of them is the Skull Merchant. Now, hey, be real with me. Be real with me for a second. Be real with me and know that I have not been a friend to the Skull Merchant for most of her time in this game, right? From the time she was announced, I made a video called I'm Disappointed. A video where I basically said, I thought this was going to be a lot cooler. I don't really like this. And the thing is, I was willing to give the Skull Merchant a chance. And obviously she made a very bad meta for a long time. And then she got reworked and some people really liked where she was, but most people still just choose to go next against her, which is a huge issue in and of itself within this community, but that's for another video for sure. Yeah. A Skull Merchant is not somebody that I look at and I think, yeah, the Skull Merchant sees me as an ally out here in the fog. No, I've been pretty mean to Skull Merchant. I've said some nice things as of late, but I've been pretty mean on the whole, and I get that. So you might think that this is going to be a situation of me dancing on her grave. You're halfway right. You're halfway right. So let's get into the changes for Skull Merchant first, and then we can kind of talk about the implications. So up here, up top, They did a change where they decreased the hindered penalty when scanned by a drone to 5%. It was 10%. And in conjunction with that, Scully no longer gains haste when scanning a survivor. So this, to me, this is an overwhelmingly good change. This is profoundly positive, because what this means, if you haven't played against a lot of skull merchants, maybe you DC every time you see one, I don't know, it would seem that's what a lot of people do. You would run through one of the little areas where she has her drones up, the drone would scan you, and you would be slowed down by 10%. Keeping in mind, Survivor's base movement speed is 100%, right? So you would start moving at 90% speed. Skull Merchant is a 115% speed killer. However, she would get a boost to her haste. I think it was 5%, maybe it was a whole 10%. I think it was like 5%, something like that. But either way, she would start moving at 120, 125, whatever it was. She would be faster than you, but she was already faster than you, and now you're slower, right? So it was so frustrating because it was completely brainless. I mean, if you think it takes no skill for the clown to throw a bottle or for Freddy to set a snare, this was even simpler because the radius of these drones was just insanity. It could cover an entire room as long as it wasn't like a large room or whatever. It could certainly cover an entire loop, and it was very frustrating to deal with. So that is a good thing from a certain perspective. I'm going to get to where there's a little bit of a negative about it, but I want to go through the other changes real quick before we do that. So the other thing they did was they reduced the number of drone scan lines to 1. So this means when you approach the drone, you see those 2 lines on either side of it that are spinning and you don't want to hit them. There's only 1 of them now. It's just going to make it easier to deal with the drones, which, I mean, it's not that hard to deal with them anyway. You just have to crouch. So that's a little pointless to me, but you know, okay, whatever. They're also now always in their active state, so that's going to be interesting. I feel neither positivity nor negativity towards that. I want to see how that plays out before I really have anything to say there. And then the scan lines are now, excuse me, I had to burp, are now invisible beyond 16 meters. That's fine. That's another one where it's like, that's just not going to make a big difference. That's not going to do much at all. So really the only thing out of that change that matters is that they reduced the scan lines by half. And again, that's just going to make it easier to deal with, oh my gosh, I told you it was the hurricane. Y'all probably can't hear it on my microphone, but the trees around me are like, they look like they're bending. Holy. Okay, well, okay, let's talk about the Skull Merchant and what this means for her. This is a good change if it's the start of something. This is a good change because it takes out the part of Skull Merchant that feels so profoundly unfair, that feels so unpleasant to deal with. This takes out the part where basically she just gets to push her power button and boom, you know, she's fast, you're slow, you're down. And it was always just a little bit silly, especially because the drones can also injure you. So that was never very fun to deal with. However, I worry that by doing this, they are really, really weakening the Skull Merchant. I think Skull Merchant is going to be a lot weaker after this. So I hope they do something to make her stronger. Maybe increase her tracking somehow, because that should really be the bread and butter of this killer. Just conceptually, it really should be a situation where Scully is kind of like Doctor and generally always knows where you are. Doctor, Legion, you know, there are a couple of them like that who just kind of always know where everybody is to some extent. Skull Merchant should really be one of those. So I am tentatively excited. In the meantime, we can at least say that if the, you know, all these go through and whatnot, I am excited that the Skull Merchant will not be as oppressive to play against anymore. However, for all my Scully mains out there, because I know there are Skull Merchant mains, I want to emphasize, I'm not laughing at your killer getting nerfed. I'm not trying to mock you because your killer is suddenly in a much worse place. I understand where this is a bit of a bummer, where your life is about to get harder, and I hope that behavior in the next patch or the one after or sometime in the relatively near future, I hope they add something to make this a little more easy to digest for you, so this is not just an outright brutal nerf. But anyway, that's that. The other big thing is, amongst all the changes they made, I didn't see Zanshin. Wait, a Survivor 16 meters, their aura is, okay, yeah, another aura perk. Great. On the subject of aura perks, Distortion, this bad boy right here. This has been the bane of the killer experience for a while now, because ever since they reworked it to where you can earn all of the tokens, it's just basically become a thing where, oh, do you want to bring barbecue and chili? No, it's not worth bringing. Do you want to bring lethal pursuer? No, because at least one of them's going to call it out immediately. Do you want to do this, that, or the other? No, 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 because all the aura perks are useless against distortion. And it's so frustrating. There are so many add-ons, so many perks, so many gameplay mechanics that are countered by distortion that it, to me, it's not a question of is it overpowered, it's is it good for the game? And I don't think it was good for the game. I think it was in a really, really gross spot. So they reworked it. Let's go through the rework and talk about what they did here. So the rework is that distortion no longer has tokens. Thank goodness. Thank goodness it no longer has tokens. This is what we wanted. This is what we needed. And it deactivates once used until the next time you're chased, which means you cannot stealth your way around the map and never see the killer and just be a gin jockey who's afraid to take loops. Because look, I realize some people say, hey, look, people like the game for different things. Okay, I get that. But at the end of the day, the core conceit of Dead by Daylight is killer finds survivor, killer chases survivor, killer downs survivor, killer hooks survivor, and then the game continues on. That is the basic thing. It's all about the chases. It is a show of skill where the killer is heavily favored to eventually win, right? This is a good change. They also increased the duration to 12 seconds. It was 10 seconds. I actually increased duration. Are they saying maybe of blocking aura perks? I don't know. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I don't know. Okay, so they said distortion counters a lot of perks and add-ons. Blah, blah, blah. Allows go unseen for the entire match. That's the issue right there. Unseen for the entire match. I know there are people who defend this perk. I know there are a lot of them, actually, and I'm probably going to see some of them in the comments. But the fact you can bring one perk and essentially guarantee that you have not guarantee, give yourself a decent chance of never even seeing the opposition the entire game. That is insane. That is not a good mechanic. So I like that a lot. I think that having to be chased to get another token for it, so to speak, I mean, they don't have tokens. You get what I mean. That's good. Yeah, okay, so they extended the duration slightly to help account for longer aura reading effects. So something like a Bitter Murmur or something like that towards the end. So that's good. Yeah, great. Fantastic. These are the two massive W's that are coming out of this one. Now, they changed some other things. For example, Quick Gambit got a rework, and I'm a little worried about it. If I'm reading it correctly, it almost seems like what they're saying is you're going to give your teammates a 5% boost as long as you're being chased and you haven't been injured yet. Like all teammates get a 5% boost, which is crazy. Please tell me that's not what it means. I really, really hope I'm reading that wrong. Big change to Blood Rush, you know, boys. We're gonna live forever. Got a huge buff, 150% increase to picking up slug survivors. Slugging is very in right now, so that's good. So yeah, a lot of changes out there. I think it's an interesting one. Corrective action is hilarious. They gave it a minor update. It's still amongst the worst perks in the game. You can pause and read if you would like to. I do like that they're working on the teamwork perks. That's fun to see. But yeah, the last notable thing is the finishing Mori. So we kind of did this one from bottom to top instead of top to bottom, but I don't think this is actually as big of a change as maybe some people think it is. So basically, you're down to one survivor. You can now Mori that one survivor and you will get more blood points. And you know, it's kind of a famously janky mechanic because you go to Mori somebody and something blocks your path and you can't see the Mori. Apparently now they're going to make it to where those things will fade away and you can actually watch the Mori. So good. I like that. Now, I do think that there was something in here. Yeah, this change makes Memento Mori offerings obsolete. So now you just get a large amount of blood points when the Mori is performed. So a bit of a bummer there. I don't know. I think Moris have already been pretty much nerfed into the ground. So I guess I'm all right with it. But anyway, those are my thoughts on this. I would love to hear what y'all think. This was too juicy of an update not to comment on. I think it really touched on a lot of what's kind of been bothering me with the game, namely distortion. from the survivor side, and Skull Merchant from the killer side. So again, Scully mains, hold on to hope. There will be some kind of balancing for this, I'm sure. We just we just have to trust that, whether you believe or not, right? We have to trust that there will be some kind of balance to actually buff the Skull Merchant in another aspect of her kit. And then Distortion users, I promise the game's more fun if you actually just start looping. It's just more fun, even if you're like me and you are terrible at looping. So that's gonna do it for me. I have been Das Food, and until the next one, bye friends.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness.